Hey friends, welcome to the School of Hard Knocks with Darcie, a place where we become unstuck from trauma and grounded in our healing. I'm your host, Darcie, and I'm a proud multi-graduate of the School of Hard Knocks. Life has a way of teaching us lessons we never asked for, but here we take those lessons and turn them into healing, strength, and self-leadership. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in.
Just a quick reminder. This podcast shares personal stories and lived experiences. It's not therapy. It's not counseling or legal advice. If you need professional help, please reach out to a licensed provider.
Hey, School of Hard Knocks. School is back in session. We are here with two guests today. This is super cool because I've never sat down with two guests at the same time. I feel like this is a new challenge and I'm so down for it. So I'm going to introduce you guys to Josh and Tiffany. They are brand new podcasters together. So Josh has his own story to tell, but their podcast is Aligned Anyway. It is a conversational real life show where they explore identity, growth, relationships, and the uncomfortable truths people don't always talk about out loud. I absolutely love that, you guys. Welcome to the School of Hard Knocks.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you, Darcie. I'm so happy to be here and excited that we get to share and talk with you. Thank you for the intro.
Absolutely. Well, who wants to go first?
Tiffany, take it away. Ladies first.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'll let Josh go first. So, I'll take it away. Just about me. So I want to kind of start off just like how Aligned Anyway came about. This started, I would say, Josh, was this 3 years ago, where I had I published a book. So I'm a published author. I published my first book, Connected Conversations, which is available on Amazon. I went through and did self-publishing. And then through that, I realized that a lot of people connected with the book through just different experiences. I pretty much tell people that I published my diary and was like, here you go. And then wonder why I had no more secrets because I had published them all. But it really opened up a lot of conversation around authenticity. And I realized that by not holding back and having genuine conversations with people, regardless of whether they would be offended or not, and I just was kind of assuming things for other people. So it really made me realize that we can draw closer to people through those connections. So it's a book of poetry where I take the poetry and then break it down for you about what I was going through when I wrote it through conversations that inspired me, which then led me to Josh. Josh had started, and I'll let him share his, but he had started a podcast. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. I like podcasting. And I was on someone's podcast to promote the book. So I said, Josh, do you think that you could help me with my podcast? I had a podcast called Connected Conversations. And then, as I mentioned, I'm technologically challenged. So Josh ended up doing a lot more help than, technically he was supposed to. So it ended up being our podcast. And we decided to relaunch that. We took about almost 2 years off. I moved to North Carolina, so I no longer live in Florida. And when we did that and decided that we were going to come back and do it together, I really was like, hey, I want this to be an us thing. Like, we are doing this together. So same thing, same concept, because we both really liked the concept, but I want it to be about he and I and kind of separate from the book. Of course, I'll talk about it. That's where it came from. But I really wanted it to be about him and us and our ability to be able to have hard conversations, overcome them, and still maintain a friendship. So that's my brief high-level overview, because I could talk a lot and I want to give Josh a chance to go.
Well, I love absolutely how, you talk about the authentic conversations having with people when you have to talk about hard stuff, and I think everybody should be we're adults. I mean, seriously, like I always kind of I don't understand how adults can't have adult conversations with other adults. It's like, what are we even doing here? And a lot of it is presentation. It's some people come into things so hot what their opinion on something, and they piss somebody off, and then now the conversation's over because of your approach. We can have differences of opinions about stuff. We are different people. You can cut us open and we all believe the same, but we have different beliefs and we have different enjoyments in our life. So I like that you do that. Secondly, I also write poetry. That
Ooh,
was a
Yay, I love
big
that.
thing for me. I came into that
okay.
at about the age of 14 years old because I grew up in a traumatic childhood. And I realized that writing that down, it was like my diary turned into poetry. And then I realized I could rhyme things together. And I was like, ooh, this is actually pretty cool. So I've probably written, I don't know, 700 poems in my lifetime.
Wow.
And
That's
then
amazing.
yeah, and then I have also become a two-time best-selling author in a collaborative book with an Empower Her. So it's 24 authors that have put their hard shit together and showed people how we make it out of it. So I
That's
think we have some
amazing.
things in common, Tiffany.
We do. That's awesome. Now I'm like, okay, I got to go get this book. I got to hear
Yes.
what your poetry is like. Something I had a pretty tough childhood too. And so how I coped with it was writing. And, I dedicated my book to my pop-up because he was a poet. So he got me into poetry. And he would, I always had a lot of big feelings as a kid. And he's like, you got to write this stuff down.
Mm,
So at an early age, I really started like feeling my feelings and understanding them and being able to turn my feelings into words to be able to really truly explain to you what I'm going through. So if there's someone that doesn't understand me, trust me, it is not because of me.
yeah. I feel that. I feel that. Well, Josh, take it away.
All right. So yeah, I'm Josh, originally from Michigan, but I live in Florida. I've been here the last almost 11 years now. I have an amazing husband, two beautiful dogs, and I am a financial manager. So I've been doing that for about 5 years now, and that's actually where I met Tiffany. Was in that same industry and same field, and to her crediting, we immediately kind of had this connection. And sometimes you feel that with people, and sometimes you don't. And I was even that awkward person. I was like, I don't mean to be weird, but I kind of knew I would like you like right away. She's like, oh, good, because I felt the same way about you, but I didn't want to tell you. I was like, okay, good, we're good now. We're both weird, so let's move along. And then the friendship really blossomed, and then I realized that we could actually connect on a deeper level when Tiffany had a game night that turned into a therapy session that we could potentially get into later. But we had a lot of people there, and somehow it went from let's have games to hey, I'm going to ask you a deep question about you and your relationship. Let's see if you answer. And then you answer. Then it was like round robin that everyone was going around talking about their deep shit. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I didn't know I needed this. Maybe this is something we can do with this because we now actually have this ability to get random strangers to open up to us just by
Yeah.
bouncing off these ideas off each other. And yes, then we started connected conversations, and I kind of started as the help that turned into a guest host because I was the help, and then it turned into, hey, this actually sounds really good together. Why don't we turn this into a podcast? And then I was already doing a tandem podcast, so I did have another one called Humor Haunts and Homicide, and that was focused on true crime mixed with hauntings and the paranormal and the spectral realm because I thought that they really made well sense together. But then I had some friends that life got in the way. They were my podcast co-host, and they were just like, look, I don't have the energy or time anymore to really dedicate to this. So the same effect wasn't really there if it was just me telling myself a story or to an audience. So I just kind of let it be. So when Tiffany was like, hey, remember that podcast thing we did 2 years ago and we took a hiatus? We kind of like that. Did you maybe want to try that again? And I'll be honest, at first I was like, I don't know, man. Like the first time didn't go so well. I kind of had a co-host that left me in the dust, and I worked really, really hard to make this dream happen of creating a podcast from scratch. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I never done this. I didn't know how to make a website. I didn't know what an RSS loop was. I didn't know this stuff, right? So I had some time off work, and I really took like 8 weeks to just figure out how to self-teach myself this stuff. And that's when she was like, hey, I could use you. I could use your help here. We can collaborate. And it just turned into this new idea of Aligned Anyway. And here we are, a season in. We're almost done. We wrap up this next week, and we're ready to launch tomorrow. So we're so happy. And we're even more happy that you allowed us to be here. So thank you for allowing us to share our story.
Heck yeah. I love the alignment so much. And cheeky, but I do. I
Right.
love it. And I think you guys just like complement each other so well. I cannot wait to start listening to some of your episodes because I know they're going to be so good. Like I can
Thank you.
tell that Tiffany has like that fire, like attitude, personality, energy. And I can tell Josh is kind of like, I have that too, but let's chill for a second, break it down.
Well, you already exposed us that quickly. Shit.
I know.
You are good.
So funny. It kind of reminds me of, I cannot remember the name of this movie that has, I think it's Seth Rogen and Eddie Murphy in it. And he falls in, do you know what I'm talking about? Their
I
With
do.
podcast
I
goes
can't
Lauren
think of
together.
it.
London.
Yeah.
Their
With
podcast
Lauren
goes,
London.
yeah, their
You
podcast
People.
goes
It's called You
together.
People.
Yes, and it's such a good movie.
It's so good. I
I
Yes.
can
love
see
that movie.
that. Oh. Josh, you
That's
got to go
great.
watch it because he does a
I
podcast.
know.
So that's so funny.
I know. That's
And it's the
amazing.
same kind of dynamic where it's like they're bringing the heat to each other about cultural differences and things like that. And it's just so beautifully put together. I mean, and then, he falls in, it's just so good and I love it.
Oh,
So,
oh, that's awesome. Well, I love the
yes,
relatability factor there. That's amazing.
Me too.
yes,
That's a
yes.
compliment for sure.
Yes, yes, I'm so glad. Well, Tiffany, you said, a little bit of your background that you grew up in a kind of rough childhood. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I find it hard to say like my childhood was rough just because I'll be honest with you, my childhood doesn't sound really different from a lot of other people of color. Um so when I would go to therapy and she would ask me like, tell me about your childhood. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. It's regular, like it's normal. And I would start telling her some things that happened in childhood and she'd be like, yeah, no, so that's not actually normal. That doesn't happen with everybody, And so for a long time, I was like, oh, I haven't really dealt with any traumas. And really, I come from a single mother, 4 children, and background, dad not present, in and out of the home kind of situation, drug use from both parents, and saw a lot of things as a kid that I really shouldn't have seen. But what I would say for me, something that I realized that I struggle with, I was diagnosed bipolar when I was 28. However, I have shown signs of bipolar for quite some time, and which is common for that to kind of get ignored, especially when you're coming from low income family. We're not really focused on like, let's go to the therapist, let's go to the doctor, let's see why we're acting like that. It's, hey, shut up, sit down, and
Mm-hmm.
you are seen and not heard. So when I kind of go into things with my childhood, I think about the decisions that I made and why I made them, right? Where I felt just not seen. I had 3 other siblings and there were other things going on. Parents are trying to make money to pay the bills, to put food on our table. So my sister pretty much raised my siblings. So that older sister trope, she has that. And so when I was younger, this is when I kind of realized like, oh, is this not normal for everyone? I had to write a paper and it was like, who is your hero? And my hero was Amber, my older sister. And I remember my mom like just being hurt by that or not understanding why. And now that I'm older, I realize that she is an adult and she's going through life just like I am. And I don't really know who made me an adult. Like that was stupid. I shouldn't be an adult. Like I want to be a kid and I don't know what I'm doing half of the time. And now that I'm able to like realize that we're all just going through life once, it caused me to be able to have a different relationship with my mom and not place the blame on her. So I find myself being in this place of, if I'm being quite frank, frustrated with therapy nowadays, where I feel like the focus is on what's your childhood trauma and what happened in the past. And I am so over analyzing my past. I really want to focus on the present and how I can change those behaviors. Josh and I talk about, the curse of being self-aware. Okay, what is this self-awareness doing for me if it's not changing?
Mhm.
And I've been in this place where I've seen several different therapists. And, my last therapist, and this was kind of like a running joke because I fired a good bit of therapists because I am a very vocal person. And you were right. I do have a bit of a fiery personality. And if you say
A
something I
bit,
don't
she
like,
says.
and if you say something that I don't like, I'm gonna let you know.
Mhm.
And a lot of the times, my therapist would just allow me to talk, and I would be like dead ass. I'd be like, "So I'm just paying you to listen to me because
Mm.
I could just write in my journal for free.
Mhm.
So are you going to give me some advice or tell me how to fix these issues? Or are we just going to stay in the past and I'm just going to go ahead and make a palette right here on the floor? Like, that's
Mhm.
not what I wanted. So when I think about the things that I go through in my childhood, I am finally at a place where I'm over it. As in, it doesn't make me angry anymore. There are things that I do where I'm like, oh, because I was raised like this, or because this happened, this is why I did that. However, that can no longer be an excuse. Like you said earlier, we are adults. I don't give a fuck what happened to you when you were 5.
Mhm.
Build a bridge, get over that shit, figure it out,
Mhm.
go to therapy, go for a run, right? Figure that shit out. That does not give you an excuse to be an asshole.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't. And if you want to be an asshole, cool, fine. Own that shit because I
Mhm.
do things that I know I'm an asshole for that and I own it. And so, sorry, I know I went off on a tangent, which I tend to do at times, but when we talk about trauma and things like that, I just think about like how I want to kind of focus on how do I take that trauma and mold it and make me powerful. So
Mhm.
I feel like being bipolar and dealing with a lot of the things that I dealt with growing up and seeing a lot of the things is actually my superpower.
Mhm.
So my trauma has made me interesting and, deeply funny in a dark kind of way, which I don't know if
Mhm.
that's really funny or not, but it's funny to me.
Yeah. Here's the thing about, here at the School of Hard Knocks, the majority of the people that I talk to do have a childhood trauma. And what we talk about here is the stuff we've gone through, but how we've got grounded where we are now.
Yeah.
And, I can tell that you're grounded in your healing because you're not blaming anybody anymore for what it is that you're doing, what you're accomplishing, what you're not accomplishing, the decisions that you're making. That's what happens when we get grounded in healing, right? We're not, well, I'm doing this because my parents did that. I went through the same childhood. There was drug abuse. I'm the oldest of 9. I
Mm.
mean, my dad used to spank some of my siblings till their diapers exploded. He tried to break wicker furniture with my body when I was 13 years old. He would spend the majority of our welfare check that we would get on drugs and booze. Like that was my childhood. The difference between myself and my 8 younger siblings is I was able to immediately separate that. Like I knew that that's not what I wanted for my life. That's not where I wanted to go. But that didn't mean that healing was there. It meant that stuffing it down was there. It
Mm.
meant that not
Yeah.
dealing with it is there. There's such a difference between being available to allow yourself to heal by dealing with that hard stuff. Not blaming your mom. I mean, she was doing the best that she could at the time, but at the same token, we're doing the best that we can with the things that we went through in our life too. That age
Mhm.
0 to 7, those are our formative years. Those are the years when we're soaking it up. What are we supposed to do? How do we approach people? How are we productive parts of society? And when your dad's pulling 6-foot tubes in front of you and blowing pot smoke out in front of you, you're like, this is weird, So I didn't realize stuff was weird until I was almost 10 when I spent the night at somebody's house and I'm like, you guys all eat around the table and no one's getting their ass kicked today? What's going on? That's weird. That felt
Mm,
weird to me, but that's actually normal,
yeah.
Right.
So my childhood, I'm over it too. It's all null and void. My dad just died 5.5 months ago. My husband
Mm,
and I took care of him for almost 4 years after he was shot at work and received a brain injury. So a
Wow.
lot of that stuff was already forgiven a while ago. But I remember one time in particular thinking as I was feeding my dad, I know 100% I took better care of my dad in his condition than he ever did of me as a child,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that rattled me and rocked me a little bit at the beginning. But when you start getting grounded in your healing, you don't allow that to control your life anymore. You don't use that as a reason, like you said, to be an asshole. Like you can't go and commit a crime and sit and tell the judge, well, yeah, I did that because of the stuff that I grew up and watched. Because he's going to say, well, that's just too damn bad. You're still going to jail.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
So, yes, I totally understand it. So, Josh talks a little bit. We've had a couple of conversations about stuff.
Yes,
Josh has gone through some stuff, some pretty
I have.
big stuff.
I have.
So, one of the things that you had said is you actually dealt with a tragic death in your life.
I had. Yeah. So my husband and I had gotten engaged February of 2020. The plan was is that we were going to get married by October of 2022 because I wanted it to be a certain number. I don't remember what the exact coding was. It was astronomical related. Tiffany's all into that shit. But it meant something to me at the time. Well, then I was actually going to work, and there's a little bit of a creepy story behind this, so bear with me. But I was going to work. There was a truck in front of me that I thought was my brother-in-law. I sent him a picture and I said, "Hey, is this you?" And he responded back, "It was not me." There was a similar decal on the back of his truck that made me think it was him. And about 2 weeks later, I'm at the same intersection, same time in the morning, and I had this weird deja vu feeling, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is weird." I'm like, "This truck looks familiar." So I pick up my phone and I compare the picture that I sent to my brother-in-law, and I'm like, "Oh, this is the same truck because the license plate's right there in the picture." So I could compare same intersection, same time of day, same day of the week even. And I'm like, okay, creepy. So I put my phone down, get to work. My husband's blowing up my phone at the time, my fiance. And and I'm like getting mad at that point because I'm like, he knows I'm at work. Why the hell has he called me 18 times? So I'm like saying to my team, I got to go. I call him back and he's just distraught. My brother's dead. Kyle's dead. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Immediately, my head went to that moment of deja vu. Like, holy shit. Like something in the universe was telling me, you need to reach out to Kyle. You need to say something to him. You should have said something to him. So immediately that guilt was with me. But like I could have said something to somebody. Like I knew that was going to happen. Now in hindsight, I started to tap more into my empathic side. And I start to recognize these signs of awareness that I start to know and notice. Like I'll be thinking about Tiffany, or we won't go, a certain period of time without talking, and I'll be in the morning driving to work. I'll think about a song, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's Tiffany." Next thing I know, 30 seconds later, she's calling me. Like weird things like that happen all the time. And yes, you can chalk them up to coincidental, or you could not. But the thought was is that he died from the COVID shot. People thought that he had a heart problem, so he had AFib. Well, he just left a doctor appointment. He went to my mother-in-law's house, and 2 hours later, he's dead from a heart attack. Well, the cardiologist said he was okay. He had just a couple of things to get followed up on. Well, then his high school sweetheart, who was his wife, my husband's niece and nephew at the time were 13 and I think 17. We get the call that they were messing around, is what his wife had said. And she went to freshen up in the other room, and she came back and Kyle had died of a heart attack. The weird part was that she was a nurse. She was a head nurse 2 miles from the hospital in which she worked at. They lived downtown, so it was very easy to get to this hospital that she worked at. The other part that was weird was that she knew he was an organ donor on his ID, wanted to be donated to the body farm, and then she didn't donate any organs. And then she actually didn't do any autopsy. She rushed it. And if you're a nurse and you think that your husband has died from a COVID shot and you didn't get an autopsy and you refuse to donate organs, and then all of a sudden she's a drug addict out of nowhere, blows the $600,000 that she got from the inheritance. The kids, she just gives up custody, doesn't want them anymore. And then on Instagram one day, she posts some kind of post that says, "I'm not the girl that's going to get caught. I'm going to give you insulin under your tongue." And I'm like, holy shit, she fucking killed him. Now, of course, there's no way to prove it. Cremation was done. No autopsy was done. And the first sign for me, we were at the processionist at the funeral, and the person, I believe it's called processionist, who's doing the funeral arrangement, he says to the family, and specifically the wife, and goes, would you like to place your husband into the wall? And she has her arms firm and she goes, no. And I'm like, did this bitch just do this in front of the entire fucking family? Like, that's weird dateline shit, right? Like, so my husband had dealt with that this entire time and trying to really heal the family and keep the niece and nephew afloat. And now my mother-in-law has custody of Dylan's niece, which is now, of course, my niece since we're married. So that was the biggest recent trauma, but how that changed my husband and how that's really changed the dynamic of our marriage and how he wasn't the same person before that death and how I'm not the same person before that death. And he was supposed to be our maid of honor, our man of honor. So everything had to change. There was trauma everywhere, and it's not like it's fully healed. It's never really been fully dealt with. And I don't know that you really ever deal with something like that so mysterious and without any answers. And the fact that we probably never will get them is something that is going to eat the family alive. And the fact that now I have to live with this weird sort of like spectral trauma, like that I'm some weird psychic and I had this ability to predict his death, even though I know deep down I couldn't have. You still feel this guilt because it felt so deep to home and it feels so real, especially since I am a believer and stuff like that. So that's probably the most recent trauma other than skin cancer. I'm a skin cancer survivor, but with that comes along healing and comes along keeps trucking. You just got to keep going. I'm not somebody that gives up. I recently lost half of my hearing in my left ear a couple weeks ago, and I shared this on our podcast coming up here, but I went to work on a Monday and I thought I had an ear infection, and I went in and they did all the testing, and I basically out of nowhere have sudden hearing loss. And I'm like, what? How does that happen? And there's no answers. It just can happen to people apparently. So, when I had the opportunity to come on this podcast, I'm like, man, I have some shit to unpack. And a lot of it's recent. So when you talk about trauma toolbox, I'm excited to unpack that toolbox and start using some of them. So
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I when you said that too, because that's my whole like caption slogan here at the School of Hard Knocks is we get unstuck from the trauma and grounded in the healing. You're healing from everything forever. This is, different things create different timelines for healing, right? Like I have a scar on my finger here that you would never even know unless if I literally stuck it right in your face instead. This is when I was a kid and my brother slammed a barn door on my finger and took a big chunk of my skin off. You can barely even see it. Somebody else who has one that is so visible and massive that healing took longer for that scar to get to where it is, right? It's the same thing with healing through different levels of trauma. Some trauma, it's like, well, my dog passed away 6 years ago. At that time, I thought it was the most horrific experience of my life. I had never lost a dog before. And when they injected my Daisy and her head hit the ground, I screamed, my skeleton shot out of my body like off of a freaking cartoon. I was like, this is crazy. Do you people not tell people that potentially could happen? Because it scared the shit right out of me. Why would you not have said that? At that time, it was the worst thing I ever experienced. And not even 2 years later, my dad gets shot at work. And when you're talking, Josh, about like having that almost like a sixth sense type of thing and then feeling guilty, I was supposed to meet with my dad that morning and I was running late. Had I had been there, how would that have altered things? Would I maybe have been shot? Would I have been able to save my dad? That type of feeling was like, this is why you don't run late, girl. Like, what are you doing? You could have maybe picked up a shovel and hit the guy with it. Like, I would dream about trying to save my dad. But, things are written for us, and that is what it is. Life happens, and we make it through these things. We don't make it over them because then the thing is still there, but we make it through it. So how did you go about supporting your husband during that time and even now? Like how was that to be in that role?
At first it felt easy because something I should also share, as Tiffany had quite a journey with her bipolar. I recently found out in August that I was bipolar manic. So that was something also that her and I bond on and that we can relate to, but also brings difference because we have different journeys with it. But something that I didn't realize was that I am somebody that feeds off the energy of others to take away from my own. So when I had the opportunity, not obviously excited for the opportunity to help my husband with trauma, but I saw that as something like, I'm ready to be there. I'm ready to take charge. I'm a leader in my natural persona, in my natural career, in my natural life. So for me, it was easy to start that role. But then it became my impatience because of the manic. Like, oh, well, you're not ready. I feel like you're ready now. I feel like you should be ready to fix this. Like you're sulking too much. I'm a productive pusher. So for me, that was something that I thought he needed, because I can't let you drown. I got to be the one to keep us together, which also would create resentment with him, because no, I need you to support me. And I'm sitting here going, no, I am supporting you by not letting you drown. We got to keep us going. Let's go. Let's smile. Let's go pretend everything's okay. Because once we pretend it is, it will be, right? Like we gotta fake till we make it. But that's just not fucking reality.
Yeah.
So with that becomes these deep rooted fucking marital problems. And that's really where a lot of that resentment came in from. I appreciate you supporting me, but now I don't even know what to do with this, because the expectation of healing is so high that like, I don't even know where the fuck I'm supposed to be. And I know I did that, but my intention was good and it always has been, but I know my delivery failed.
What a beautiful way to take ownership, though, because there's nothing more that I hate on this earth than textbook answers to things. Textbook answer things to me are always so wild, because everybody's situation is different. How everybody heals from something, how everybody perceives something. It's going to be different. So, like when I would take my dad to the doctor and they'd have a textbook answer, we weren't a textbook family.
Yeah.
I had to fire multiple doctors, because it was like, if you're not willing to try something outside of this book that they gave you in doctor school, I'm out. I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm really proud of you, Josh, for taking, that ownership, because it's not, oh, bad Josh. It's Josh now learned a
Right.
different way to approach a situation. God forbid something like that ever happens in your life again, right?
Of course. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the acknowledgement. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tiffany, with bipolar at 28, you said you were diagnosed. How old are you now, can
Yeah,
I ask?
37.
Oh my goodness, girl. I thought you were going to tell me maybe 30.
Thank you.
I know she looked good, don't she?
I'll
You
take
do. You
it.
do. I'll be 47 in November. So,
Oh, okay, girl.
maybe there's just magic fairy dust around everywhere. Who knows?
Right, because I was thinking you were just the same age as me.
Oh, you're adorable. Thank you. So tell me now, so it's been 10 years almost
Mhm.
that you have had this. How has the beginning of the officially being diagnosed to now, how has that journey been?
Oh, it's been a roller coaster. I
Mm,
mean, I think that's where my trauma lies right now. Obviously, as I shared earlier, my trauma with just like different therapists and things like that, because over the course of those years, I've seen maybe like 13 different people trying to find the right person that was going to match with me. And of course, some of that was because of, I moved and they're licensed in different states. But when I first was diagnosed, I was actually misdiagnosed, which is typical of
mm,
bipolar patients. So I was diagnosed with depression. And so I started taking depression meds. They made me even more depressed because they weren't treating the other side, which is the hypomania. So, excuse me. Um, I went back and I was like, this isn't working. So we tried something else. Then I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. That didn't work either. Then they were like, I think you might be bipolar. And I was like, no, because I'm really high functioning. Like bipolar, or they do crazy stuff. They go streaking, at 3 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning. That's not what I'm doing. And they're like, that's the stigma around it. That is not
mm,
what every patient is. Every person is different. That's why you have all these different medicines and different cocktails, because it's going to react to the brain differently. So when I was first diagnosed, and I'm not even going to say first diagnosed, honestly, throughout my diagnosis, even now, I still will challenge the therapist and be like, are you sure that I'm bipolar? Or are you just trying to pump me with medicine because the pharmaceutical rep was just there and you're trying to make sure you can help them get a bonus? So and mind you, I will tell this to the therapist and they'll be like,
mhm.
okay, like I hear you. because they know that I can be pretty cynical and in nature when it comes to the medical field. So I didn't believe it because I'm like, I'm a leader. I do this, I do that. But I've had to go out on leave of absence. I think the first time that I did, I was living in Florida, and I called an employee, and I don't even think I was a manager at the time, but I called someone a bitch at work because he was being a little bitch. So I literally was like, well, you're acting like a little bitch, and that's not my fucking fault. Well, you can't say that at work, right? And I was like, okay, maybe I should pay attention to this. Like, I can't just be doing these things. Like, there was this one time where my aunt had just passed away, and she passed away pretty young. I was living in South Carolina. She lived in North Carolina, and I was seeing her pretty frequently. And so I was really close, and she passed away suddenly. And I was like going to get my eyebrows done before I go do it. And the girl like messed up my eyebrow, and I literally had a meltdown. I mean, like lost it on her. And I was like, okay, maybe I do have a problem. So I finally started to believe that I had an issue. So then I was like, fine, go ahead and put me on the medication. But it was so many different cocktails that you have to try. And even now I still struggle with going on and off my medication. But I do believe now that I'm bipolar, mostly because like when other people are bipolar, I could see it. Like when Josh told me he was bipolar, I was like, oh, okay. Like I thought maybe you might be. So let's talk about it. So now I can kind of see certain things. But I'll say the biggest factor in my issue of not believing that I was and not seeking out the help was, I come from we're black family, and in black families you pray that shit away. All right. You just got an attitude problem. No, you're just cranky. No, you're just tired. That was what it was. And, my mom is super supportive now of me being bipolar. Kind of. She has her moments because sometimes it'll be like not in the most supportive way where she'll say something about the disorder but she'll correct herself and that comes with education. But the biggest factor for me was like my mom didn't believe it. I got called dramatic so much for everything. I could be like, someone hit me, someone made fun of me. This happened, and my mom would be like, oh, you're just being dramatic. Oh, that didn't matter. So in my head, I'm dramatic. So me being bipolar, there was something wrong with me. There was something wrong with my personality. I hated myself because I just thought that I was this like mean, cranky bitch who wasn't deserving of love. And when I finally accepted that I am bipolar and it's not my fault and it's not in my control, then I started to like myself again and love myself. And a lot of that kind of coincides with when I finally decided to lose weight. I was 375 pounds and I lost 183 pounds through gastric sleeve surgery. And I joined Camp Gladiator, and I changed my circle of friends, and I changed my habits on social media, and I held myself accountable through posting my weight loss journey while simultaneously dealing with getting back on medication, finally believing that I'm bipolar. Oh, and then all this was going on. COVID happened. My dad passed away, supposedly from COVID. Don't know. And then my boyfriend at the time decided that was when he was going to break up with me. So I had to deal with all of these things at one time. So I really had to kind of look myself in the mirror and be like, okay, I've gone to multiple therapists where they have been like, hey, we have tested you more than once. We're not going to test you again. My psychiatrist even told me, she was like, you do realize that majority of bipolar patients do this, right? They think they're not, and they come back and they challenge us. It's a thing. And I'm like, oh, oops. Okay. So I guess maybe I am. And I started just kind of like, not being shy about it, being very vocal and very honest. Like I would meet people, and if I decided I liked them and I wanted to be their friend, I opened up to them and said, hey, sometimes, I'm not the best friend, or I can be like a little flaky because I get sad sometimes and I can't get out of bed, or I get too overwhelmed with the extrovert that I was being, that now being in public spaces make me literally faint
Mhm.
because I'll have a panic attack or, whatever the case may be. So I just wanted to be upfront with people so they would know what they were getting into. And like, even when I got with my now fiance, it was a month after I had published the book where I put in there that I was bipolar, and he didn't know what it was. And I think this is like one of the reasons I fell in love with him. It was love at first sight. And he read the book before going out with me and had did like all this research on like medications bipolar patients take. What does it mean if you're bipolar? Then he would send me videos, ask me questions, and I had never felt seen in my mental illness before then, because most
Mhm.
people would be like, "Are you sure you're bipolar? You seem so put together. You're fine. It's just you. You're just dramatic." And it made me feel so low, thinking that, oh, I am just dramatic. And then having him actually do the research, ask questions, and not be turned off by it, because I didn't think that I would be able to be in a relationship, because who is going to love somebody who has these mood swings and who has these ups and downs? And then I meet him and he's just like me, very simply.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was all I needed. But it's a constant struggle, because if you feel good, you're like, well, I don't need to take the medication. But then by the time you realize you need to take the medication, well, you're already 3 weeks deep into your downslope of depression, or you're already on your upslope of the hypomania, and you just bought a new car that you don't need and you really didn't afford. And I mean, there were times like when I was younger, I would go to the club and spend rent money on like everybody's drinks in the club, and I'd be like, "It's all
Mhm.
on me."
Mhm.
and
Mhm. Yeah.
one, and that people like, "Oh, you're just being dramatic." Like, nah, that's not normal. So I think that, like you said earlier, I really, really liked what you said about the groundedness of healing.
Mhm.
And I'm in a place of being grounded in my authenticity. And right now, that is someone who knows I should be on medication and I struggle with it daily. But I now believe that I'm bipolar. Um, I understand what it means. And I no longer think that it is a reason to isolate myself from people. I think that it is now a reason for me to speak up for people who may have felt like me, or to be a resource or a friend to people who need to be heard and do not want to feel like something they can't control is just them and their personality, and condemn them to thinking that they're not worth the effort or attention.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Well, first of all, I mean, so many incredible things, right? Like the journey of you even finding the diagnosis and the way that even though you're healed from your childhood, those negative things that were constantly put in your head about being dramatic, stopping you from believing that there could actually be something that is diagnosable with you. It's very interesting how even when we are grounded in that healing, that doesn't mean that something can't still creep in. I mean that
Mhm.
we're human. We're not robots. I think so many of us feel like we can't have something wrong with us. How could there be something wrong with us? Because we're a human being. And that's just the reality of it. So I'm proud of you. I am proud of you for allowing somebody in. I'm proud of you for taking care of yourself. I'm so happy that you found somebody to love you for you. I mean, that is so important because every single person on this earth is deserving of. And it's that self love thing, especially for women in particular. We feel so selfish when we're doing things to self-love ourselves. Like, how dare we?
Mhm.
And it's not just the getting your hair done and your nails done and the brows and no, this is internal work is self-love. Giving yourself grace, taking care of yourself emotionally so that we can be good for every person around us. So, what an awesome journey that you have been on to get to this level of, I need to start opening up and talking to people about this because this can be relatable to other people. That's so cool. I love it.
Thank
I
you. I appreciate that.
love it. So Josh is interested in opening up a little bit of the trauma toolbox.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all need a little bit of trauma toolbox. I mean, we need more tools, right? And that's what we're here doing. That's what you're here doing. We need more tools to use because there's never enough. We can always use more because we get bored with repetitive motion. We, as humans, need to be intrigued with new things that make sense, that
Mm-hmm.
make sense to the evolution of where we're at, because maybe I'm in
Yes.
therapy now and maybe the therapist, to Tiffany's point, 13 therapists ago wasn't working, but maybe the 14th is, because in this space I'm willing to try this difference. So I think that
Absolutely.
I think yes, I think trauma toolbox has got to be open right now.
So that's the thing about a trauma toolbox. I mean, the first thing is your first tool is you need to love yourself. 110%. I'm an NLP practitioner. So I'm neural linguistic programming. I can do hypnosis, clinical hypnosis and success coaching. But I told one of my clients the other day, I betcha that I could walk into any one of my clients' houses and find at a bare minimum 3 mindset shift books. I betcha. Every single person has them. That's awesome. That's what we should be doing. But we're not going to retain any of that information or apply it if we don't love ourselves. That's just the reality. You can read until you're blue in the face, and you're going to be like, yeah, well, okay, that's great knowledge to have. And you're not going to apply it to yourself until you love yourself. So you can't
Absolutely.
even unlock that toolbox until you're going to apply the tools, because what's the point? That's like
Yeah.
saying, well, I'm going to lay carpet down in my bedroom, and you buy all of the stuff to do it, and then you don't know how to lay the carpet. Well, how are you going to put it out? Did you know to use lay carpet, you actually have to buy a tool that you can kick with your knee to stretch it? It's called a stretcher. Yeah, I had to learn that because we laid carpet at our house.
Wow.
No
I don't
idea.
I don't envy that at all.
But that is what you do when you're going to succeed at completing a job. You don't
Mm,
just roll a carpet out and tape it to the floor. My dogs would have tore
right.
that shit up in a half of an hour. It would have been done. So
Hmm.
that's the key to opening the toolbox is love yourself. So the different tools that I have in there are really there to get you out of your moment. I talk a lot about we're going to have hard things that happen, but let's focus on making that a moment, not an hour, not a day, not a weekend, a week, a month, a year. So many of us spend years trying to recover from things. And there's one thing that I've learned from all of the grief, trauma, pain that I've gone through: there's no time limit on healing from anything, but there is a time limit on our life.
Hmm.
And that's just a really, when I first started telling people that, I thought, oh man, my people are going to look at me like, well, that's an asshole thing to say. Listen, it hurts. It hurts to be told we need to take accountability for what it is that we're doing. That doesn't mean my dad died 5 months ago and I'm just going to jump on a plane and fly to Paris and act like my life didn't happen. But that does mean that I'm going to take the appropriate steps forward to continue to stay grounded in my healing. Things like, if I hate the word triggered so bad. I just want to, I hate it because everybody's triggered by everything. I stubbed my
Right.
toe,
Hmm.
I'm triggered. The cat looked at me weird, I'm triggered. I had a smell, I'm triggered. It's like, oh my God, no, you're not. Stop saying that. This pisses me off. So, but there has to be a different word. So I actually call it roly polied because I'm so sick of the word itself. So I say,
I'm roly polied. I'm gonna
if
try
I've
this.
been, if I've been roly polied, I open up my trauma toolbox and there's things in there to reset you in that moment. So like music. And I'm not talking
Hmm.
about like putting on the music that you want to go out and dance to. Like, for me, I love classic rock and like AC/DC and things like that. But, I can also get down to like Ludacris and Snoop. My dad
Yeah.
loved Tupac.
Get it,
I know
girl.
that's
Okay.
a crazy thing. My dad's favorite song was "Picture Me Rolling." I'm not even
Yeah.
making this up. Like, it's like his favorite thing. So all of these different things, but I'm talking about songs that make your praise hands go up.
Hmm.
I'm talking about songs that you feel your soul say, "I'm okay and I'm here and I'm centered and I've got this. I can do
You
it."
know,
And sometimes it's going to take more than one. Sometimes you got to listen to 2, 3 songs to get that vibe really, really sunk into you, right?
There's one right now by Demi Lovato called "Sorry to Myself." Tiffany's not a fan because it's got a little
Mm.
techno vibe. Tiffany likes some more of a chill Sade vibe. I love a
Yes.
good techno gay club, but I love meaning with the music beat. It's really about like, you know what? I beat myself up over all the shit I did wrong, but I'm gonna just say sorry to me because
Yeah.
I owe myself a goddamn apology because right
Mhm.
now I'm good with what happened and I'm gonna be even better with what's to come. And every
Mhm.
time I hear it, I like get a little teary eyed because I literally have to remind myself like, oh my god, I got to apologize to me because I got to get out of my own way here. So
Mhm.
yeah, music is such food for the soul. Yeah, it is a tool.
It's
I
so
think,
powerful.
yeah. And to your point about the music, I like more of a sultry kind of thing, but right now Jessie Reyes has been my vibe, and she has this song and it's called Goliath. And the song is saying like, I'll love you through anything. Like I'll be Goliath for you. And when I think about it, I dedicated the song to Don, my fiance, but also I dedicated it to me. I spent so many years focusing on loving myself. And even when I wanted to get a partner, like I told Don, I was like, hey, love yourself first, do your own inner work, get to know the real me so you can see my worth. And that's one of my poems in the book. And I realized like I cannot be with anyone who doesn't love their self, because there is no way they will give me the modicum of love that I deserve without loving themselves first. And for me, I had to train myself and teach myself through these love songs on how to love me. So that's spending time with myself, spending time with my plants, doing this podcast, feeding into me, and really pouring into me. And I use music to do that. And sometimes it's funny because I think each person has a different connection to the song, to the words, to the mood, to the melody, and what it kind of does. So my thing is I will blast the music all the way up so I can really feel it, and
Mhm.
it needs to be in the car at night, and then that's when I cry. And it's like it
Mhm.
may be good cries, it may be happy cries, sad cry, whatever, but it's this release of like remembering to come back to me, to come back to feeling worthy of love and worthy of my own love.
I love that. And how, you're right, because you can listen, we all three of us could listen to the same song and catch a different vibe. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just what it is. The next tool that I have, and it's a big one for me, is my faith. I cannot walk through this life at all without walking through it with God. There's no way I would have made it through this shooting with my dad. Everything that we went through in rehab, the things that I had to see were horrific. It just was such a game changer for me. And I'll tell you, the day my dad passed away here in our home, obviously, and I found him, and I did not realize at first that he was deceased. He had a BiPAP mask that he would wear at night for like a sleep apnea type of thing, and it was still running. And there was an alarm on it that was supposed to sound if he took less than 6 breaths in a minute. This alarm was supposed to sound. So when I go in by my dad, he used to sleep like this, like he was really pondering something. And I would take his arm and go, "Good morning, Dad." And when I did that, the coloration in his face, I immediately knew something was wrong. But the oxygen was running and the machine was still running at saying he was breathing on his own at 12%. So I tore the mask off,
Yeah.
yelled to my husband, "I'm calling 911. Something's wrong with my dad." And I immediately started CPR, chest compressions. I'm screaming to the top of my lungs, begging this 911 operator, get them here because I'm going into failure as I'm trying to save my dad's life, to have them come and pronounce him deceased and tell me that he had already been gone for 7 hours before I found him.
Oh.
So here I'm breathing life into my dad's already very deceased body, but the machine didn't sound once.
Hmm.
It did not sound once. So they check it. There's no glitch. There's nothing. It's God. And it's been God. this whole entire time walking through this, the miracles that have happened with my dad. So when we're talking about catching a different vibe with music, it's the same thing when you're reading the Bible. You can read the Bible over and over and you're going to see something different every single time because whatever period in your life that you are in, it's going to speak to you differently. You're going to it's going to hit something different. You're going to get a different level of understanding. You're going to get a different feeling of, "Oh, I didn't even think about that the first time because you weren't meant to hear it that way the first time." And with music, music is so freeing and great, but what I saw that day, I could not get the vision out of my head. I mean, if you can imagine, it was horrible. So I'm using some of these tools and it's not working. I'm like 3 weeks into this and all I'm seeing is my deceased dad's face and I can't get it out. And I looked at my husband and I said, I got to figure this out. I got to figure something else out that could help. And I started thinking of some of my favorite movies. I really enjoy Beverly Hills Cop. I think Axel Foley is funny as shit. I love Eddie Murphy. I just love him.
Me too.
He's just
Yeah.
How
funny.
could you not love him?
Yeah.
Like,
Come
Right.
on. But there's that one part when the cops come and he's standing up against the fence, and the black cop says to Eddie Murphy, "We're not going to fall for the banana and the tailpipe trick." And Eddie mocks him back and goes, "We're not going to fall for the banana and the tailpipe trick. You've been hanging out with this guy too long. You're supposed to sound like this," and like drops his voice. And now I'm not thinking about my dad anymore. Now
mm,
I'm thinking about that visual in that movie. And I'm like, holy shit, I think I just figured out a tool that is now because when you're thinking about music or you're hearing music, you're feeling it. You're feeling it, but what are you seeing? Are you seeing music notes? Are you seeing what? The words? So when you have something that kind of traumatic, to help to change the visual. Pretty Woman is another favorite movie of mine. There's that
gotcha.
part when Julia Roberts walks up to the car and tells Richard Gere, sure, she can give directions for $5. And he's like, for $5, you can't charge me for directions. And she's like, I can do anything I want to, baby. I ain't lost. Now all of a sudden I'm thinking about Julia Roberts in her little slutty outfit standing up against the vehicle that he's driving. And the visual again is now changed in my head. That has been my newest tool that has this. My dad passed away 5.5 months ago. When I talk about this now, I'm not rattled. I'm
Yeah.
not crying. I'm not like, oh, no, because the healing that I become grounded in from using the tools. So this toolbox that I have there's some good stuff in there. Some good stuff. So that's something I created to help with these moments that I'm going through, that now I actually do a workshop that help teach women how to do this, even taking off the superwoman cape, figuratively and literally, that all of us wear. A lot men do it a lot too, but women just have this. We've been made to feel like we're the moms, the wives, the cooks, the cleaners, the providers, the laundry, the take care of the
Mm,
dog, the please your man, to be the whole entire thing. And it's like, dude, I'm one person. So I took that cape off and I folded it up. I'm not going to burn it, throw it away. It's figuratively put away somewhere in a drawer of mine because it's what made me who I am today.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I've learned that no is a complete sentence. If I don't want to do something, it's just no, and I don't owe you an explanation. It just is because I said, and that's just what it is.
yeah.
So the self-love that I'm practicing and coaching other people to do, this is the outcome. This is where you get to. There's no guilt, there's no shame in anything. I love myself now to a, a point of where I've never before in my entire life. So I'm okay now with I'm not doing this, or who I allow in my life. I mean, you are a direct representative of the top 5 people you surround yourself with. If you don't have one person in your life that you can be your ugly self with, you need to check your surrounding and your people.
Hmm.
There's just a lot of different things that it go into healing. And once you start to get it and it clicks like that, it's such a game changer for your life.
Agreed.
That hits
100%.
home. Go, Josh.
I would no, I was just saying I agree 100%.
So what I was going to add to that is like just something that you said struck me. Josh and I were talking about this earlier about reevaluating our circle.
Mhm.
And you were like, if there's not someone that you don't have someone that you can just be your ugly self with, right? And my thing is I have too many people I think I can be my ugly self with. I recently had a friend, well, we're not friends anymore, but it felt like she preferred me to be my uglier self versus my right now. It's like I'm melting. I just am coming out of seasonal depression and I'm really not used to, North Carolina winters still. I'm moved here from Florida and I'm used to sun all the time. And now that I'm melting, I'm like in this place where I'm like excited about my podcast. I'm posting again. I'm doing my makeup again. I got my hair done and I'm feeling good about myself. And I feel like, that's where I feel like I need to do a little bit of cleaning. I need to clean up people who can't be happy with me or who don't want to see me happy or who seem like unbothered. Like, what I want when my friends are finally coming out of depression or whatever they have going on, I'm like, hell yeah, welcome back. Let's go. What up, bitch? You back. Like that's my energy. And for this friend, I felt like that wasn't her energy. When I was out of it and coming out of a dark place, it was more so, what about me? Well, now I'm in this dark place by myself and I don't like that. And that is where it's like, okay, you got to reevaluate your circle for that too.
Yeah, that's why I don't do unhealed energy. I just don't, and that was a really hard thing for me. I realized at the age of 39 that I was an enabler. I'd enabled people my whole entire life, and I never knew that. I thought I was doing things out of love. I actually have a brother who was addicted to meth for 20 years. My parents, when they got divorced, I actually ended up with him at 14 years old. So he calls me his sister mom. He's my brother's son because I've pretty much raised him. But he got addicted to meth at the ripe age of about 17. And it stole 2 decades of his life. I don't know how this man survived. I don't know how he did not go down even a darker road. But the day that I found out I was an enabler was after he spent $3,000 gambling and he was living with my husband and I again. And I said, why did you do that? Like, why did you do that? And he looked me dead in the face and said, because I knew you weren't going to do anything about it. And I said, oh, well, now you get to pack all of your stuff and move out of my house. Because if you want somebody to basically tell you in a roundabout way, well, you kind of been supporting it because you don't do anything. You still allow me to stay. You still allow me to do the stuff. So why would I change? That's the thing about people is we need to take accountability and understanding that we teach people how to treat us by what we allow.
Yeah.
We teach people how to treat us by what we allow. And, for me, I am a very sensitive kind. If you're homeless, can I help you? I don't care what your history is or how you got there. It's none of my business. You're a human. I don't care what your color is, what your background is. Do you need a sandwich? Can I help you with that? And I'm like that. So I never pictured myself as enabling. I thought I was trying to love people out of it. Well, I ended up having to leave a friendship in 2025 because it was the same thing. She hated it when I was doing well because I was unhealed with her. And that made her feel like she didn't have to reach. She didn't have to stretch to be a better person. And I gave her a couple of warnings before I said, we're done. We're just it. Happened right before Christmas. I said, we're done here. I've talked to you
How long
about
was
this
that
a couple of
friendship?
times.
Was
30
that a long?
years.
Oh, wow.
30 years.
Wow.
30
First
years.
off, kudos to you though for
yeah.
recognizing that and cutting that. Like that's amazing.
But if you want to get kicked out of my life, try pulling some shit like that after my dad dies. And go ahead and be your selfish self and don't be there for me and everything's about you and woe is you and all. I just found my dad deceased last week and you're calling me because something's going on with you. Like, are you kidding me right
Yeah,
now?
fuck off. Fuck off.
That's
Yeah.
just not happening, you know? So I
No.
had told her like, no, we're not doing that. And then she did it again. And I'm like, listen, we're not doing that. And then she did it again. And I said, okay, well, Merry Christmas to you someplace else. You go celebrate Jesus by yourself because we're not doing this. You know, so that's another tool in the toolbox. Who are you surrounding yourself with? And why are you surrounding yourself with those people? Are you surrounding yourself with your people, surrounding yourself with those people because you want to stay unhealed? Let's take accountability for that. When you surround yourself with people who are supporting the unhealed version of yourself, it's because you're not loving yourself. You know, you need to be around people who are like, Tiffany, we need to talk for a second, friend. Like I've noticed there's some stuff going on with you. Like, what can I do? What can I help you with? And now you're out of it, just like you said. Let's go have some fun. I'm so proud of you for making it through. Those are the people that we need to be around, not this, oh, I can't believe you're doing this. And I've been called a Bible thumper. I can't believe she's writing books and what do you mean you can't believe I'm doing good stuff? That is the most bizarre shit I've ever heard in my life.
Right. I
Where
don't
did we get
understand.
to why would we hurt each other or bash each other? I don't care if we're strangers or if we've been friends for 30 years. I'm going to support you and be proud of you when I know you're doing good stuff. You know? So that friendship got left in last year because as we get grounded in this healing, we say who and we say when that we
Yeah.
allow in our life, and that's just what it is.
Yeah. I'm no longer creating space for people because at this age, right, we have to create space. We have to create time. Time isn't there. You
Mm-mm.
have to carve it out and create it. So I'm no longer creating space for people who don't want to celebrate me. And I mean, celebrate me doesn't mean that I have to do anything. Celebrate the fact that I'm smiling today or the fact that I want to celebrate. And then if you can't celebrate and you need me to, that's okay. I could do that for you too. But I cannot be around people that seem frustrated every time I'm happy or they're annoyed because I'm celebrating. No, no longer. I've dealt with it for a long time. And to your point, I needed to take a look in and see why I was dealing with that. And I was dealing with that because I was comfortable in that misery because it did not allow me to have to face things that I didn't want to face. And I didn't have to step out of my comfort zone and meet people that are healed because those are different types of conversations. And are we ready for those? And now I'm in a place where I'm 100% 10 toes down, ready for real, authentic relationships. And I'm also 10 toes down on getting rid of relationships that no longer serve me.
That part.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, healed people heal people.
Mhm.
You know, there's that whole hurt people, which I was hurt for a long time and I still couldn't hurt people. You know, maybe my biggest downfall was making myself not available to some people because of what I was going through in my life. But healed people heal people. That's why it's so exciting that you guys have this podcast coming because there's going to be so many things that you guys are going to be able to talk about. I mean, you can tell that you're both very steeped in your healing, you know, and that you're grounded in where it is you need to be and you're on that journey in different things that may have just happened to get to the level of being grounded. You know, like everything in this life is a journey. When something happens, you're not like I'm going to jump into healing right away the next day. I mean, geez, if you get a cancer diagnosis, you're not like, well, water off a duck's back, it's gonna all work out. You have to feel those feelings in order to get to the level of getting grounded in the healing, right? So
Yes,
your
absolutely.
podcast is gonna have that ability to do the same thing, where it's bringing your real life stories and situations and how you're grounded in the healing and how your suggestions on how other people can do it.
Well, thank you for recognizing that because that was honestly, the biggest thing that you worry about when you get into something new like this, right? Like, are people going to resonate with it? Are they going to understand it? Are they going to think it's just petty? Because I'll tell you what, we found more support from strangers than we have our own inner circle when we're
Mm,
doing this journey together. We ask people to share it, post. It's not that easy to get somebody to do a
mm,
free thing they're doing on their phone all day long.
mm,
Um, and maybe it's envy, maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's not giving a shit. I don't know what it is. But we have found more support from the people that are not around us that are like, let me root for you because I think this is important. And it just kind of reinstills the message as to why we're doing this. And right now we need this shit more than ever. We need levity to the chaos. And if we can
Yes.
bring any of that to one person, hell, even if we could bring that to ourselves, talking through a camera on a podcast, it's worthwhile because friend therapy is free and
Mhm.
pod therapy is everywhere you want it to be. So why not
Mhm.
try to get the message out there to those that want it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Doing this podcast is just another form of healing for me. Just like writing the book was healing for me. I did it for me because I have this deep, insatiable need to relate to others and to let other people know that they're not alone. And I really want to drive that home. If I or we, including you, Darcie, if your podcast brings some type of comfort to only one person, then that means that my mission has been completed. And I have to kind of live by that route, by that way. Like that's the purpose, is to connect and pull close. And I feel like in this world full of social medias and different ways to connect, no one is genuinely connecting because we're not having real conversations. We're having highlight reel conversations and talking about vacations we went on where we blew a shit ton of credit on that shit. And now we trying to act like we balling and we got it. And then for the next 6 months, we're stressed out paying it off. And we don't want to tell nobody about it because we don't have authentic relationships. So we don't have anyone that we can feel comfortable telling our shit to. And I'm not going to live in a life like that anymore. But, we have to realize that we create that life. We create what's around us. So I'm going to handpick who I want in my circle and how close I want them. And I don't think anything's wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I absolutely love everything that we've talked about, and I'm so excited to check your guys' podcast out. This Aligned Anyway is so perfect. I mean, you guys are going to be out here just doing the thing and helping people with your great personalities and your great conversations and being grounded in your healing. And I cannot wait to support the podcast. I'm
Oh
so
my God. Thank you so
excited.
much. We're so happy to have
Thank
you as
you,
a
Darcie.
fan and a friend.
Yeah, well, hey, tell us, where can everybody find you guys? Where are you streaming?
Anywhere, everywhere you can get your podcast. We're on YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, anywhere. We're everywhere except for
Spotify, Apple
Pandora at this point.
Music.
Yeah, you name it, we're there.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with me today on the School of Hard Knocks. It's been so nice meeting you guys, and I cannot wait to watch your podcast flourish.
Thank you
Me
so
either.
much.
Thank you so
Likewise.
much, Darcie. We appreciate it. And also, I wanted to add, I really just love what you do and your authenticity and how you come off. You had me here about to tear up a little bit.
Oh,
So, I really appreciate your stories and the way that you ask your questions. So thank you.
thank you. All right, School of Hard Knocks. This was such a great interview. And you know what? Josh and Tiffany's podcast, Aligned Anyway, launches on April 1st. It is not an April Fool's joke. It is for real happening. So exciting. And they're streaming everywhere that I am streaming. So when you go to listen to mine, my challenge is go and find theirs and go and follow and listen to them too. We are so blessed to have these kind of wonderful people here at the School of Hard Knocks. And as always, you guys, when you are walking with God, healing is always possible. We will see you guys on the next episode.
I'd like to thank you for sharing your time with me today. And I'm so proud of you for stepping into your healing journey. Please share this with every single person that you know. I'm here to make the biggest impact possible, and I can only do that with you by my side. I hope you hit that follow button and you save me to your library so you never miss an episode. We just took another break out of your wall, and remember, with God, healing is always possible. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.